Do you remember recruiting? It does not stop. 24/7, 365 job, and Oregon's got another blue chip prospect in the class of 2025, Vander Ploog, who had been committed to Washington verbally for a while. 6'6", 223 pounds, Fullerton, California native, and he is now committed to the Oregon Ducks. This had been rumored for a while. There had been crystal balls and whispers behind the scenes that, yeah, he might flip to Oregon. And I don't know that the current season has a direct impact, as in, I don't know that it's the only factor, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know that Washington, who just got blasted 35-6 against Penn State, and then Oregon winning by 21, I don't think that was necessarily the moment, even though Ploog committed on Sunday, the day after those two games took place. Oregon's 10-0 and ranked number one. Washington will probably make a bowl game. They'll beat UCLA this weekend, I would think. And then they come to town in a few weeks, and Oregon should be able to win that football game. But getting back to Ploog here, this is the first tight end commit of the class of 2025. Will it be the last one? There have been internet whispers about Lincoln Cure, the five-star tight end who committed to Kansas State back in the summer. Oregon had Deshaun Brame at one point in time. He then flipped away to Tennessee, I believe it was. But they've got Ploog into the fold, and getting a tight end makes a lot of sense. This is a position where true freshmen have played for Oregon 3 of the last 4 years. Like, it's just a position where guys can come in and be physically ready. That might not necessarily apply to Vander Ploog here, as I'll get into in a moment, but I think you would have said the same thing, perhaps, about Roger Saliapaga, who's a converted wide receiver in high school, and he has played meaningful snaps this year. When Terrence Ferguson was down, Kenyon Sadiq and Patrick Herbert and Roger Saliapaga were the 3 tight ends who played against Purdue while the game was still absolutely in question. So he's a 4-star tight end. According to 24/7 Sports, he's the number 12 tight end in the class and the number 241 prospect overall. 6'6", 223 pounds. I'll get to my comparison in a moment. But last year in high school down in California, he had 63 catches for 1,000, not 100, 1,047 yards and 12 touchdowns. So about 1 in every 5 receptions is a touchdown, which when you're 6'6", not a lot of kids in high school that can go toe-to-toe with you in the end zone. When the ball is thrown up into the sky, you're going to have a tendency to go and get it. He's got really good hands, very easy route runner, lines up at wide receiver a lot. Also has an offense that he plays in with some wing T formations where he blocks a little bit more. Doesn't blow me away with the blocking that he puts on his huddle highlights. And, I think he's definitely more of a pass catcher first compared to a blocking guy. That doesn't mean he can't learn, of course. I think you would have said, or I should say, I would have probably said the same thing about Kenyon Sadiq. And, well, he put on a lot of weight this offseason, and Kenyon Sadiq pushing people around. I think doing a really, really good job in the blocking sense. So, Ploog was committed to Washington. Other schools that were after him, Utah, Arizona State, Cal, and SMU. That's current unbeaten SMU, the only unbeaten over in the ACC. I won't say why they're the only unbeaten. I'll just throw that out there and I'll let people think about it for just a moment. But Oregon's class is sitting at number 9 in the class of 2025. It can still go higher. There are other blue chip guys out there. There are, you see these crystal ball rumors, and like I put some weight into them. I don't put a ton because, yeah, it feels like they're right as often as they're wrong, but certainly they were right with this one. And I think people jump on the crystal ball predictions when they're wrong more than when they are actually right. But they don't always tell everything, but this has been, kind of expected for a while, and Oregon's able to make the flip. Of course, you got to get him to sign on national signing or the early signing day at the end of December, at which point in time, hopefully, fingers crossed, Oregon will be preparing for a rather large and important football game. But Greg Biggins, 24/7 Sports recruiting analyst, said of him, quote, 3-sport athlete whose first love was actually basketball. Love that. Both parents played college hoops at Biola and grandfather coaches at Azusa Pacific. So this is a bit of a sporty guy. Legit hooper who can play above the rim and also plays baseball. Oh my goodness. Have we found the new Bryce Betcher? Hey, I do not know, to answer your question that you might send my way, I do not know if Mark Wasikowski has been in contact. I'll just leave it at that. But hey, it's happened before. How about Betcher getting dapped up by the baseball team who was on the field before the game? It was so awesome. Anyway, Biggins continues, quote, only played football for 2 years, but shows natural talent, still raw in some areas, and needs to add upper body mass and strength to help become more physical in the run game, but has the frame to do so, can make plays down the field, wins 50-50 balls, that's my favorite thing about him, and contested catches, and already looks more fluid and explosive getting in and out of his breaks this offseason on 7v7 circuit. Intriguing kid for sure, and has some high-level upside as a prospect, end quote. So I had a lot of similar takeaways watching his highlight reel, that he's a guy who you throw the 50-50 ball up to. He's 6'6", and frankly, more than any tight end, like, yeah, he reminds me of Roger Saliapaga a bit, reminds me a little of Kyler Casper. Just from a frame standpoint, Casper's the only other pass catcher who's 6'6". I believe Terrence Ferguson is listed at 6 foot. Wait for it. Okay, so T. Ferg is 6'5", but he's got a more of a vertical element to his game. T. Ferg's a better athlete than people probably give him credit for, but this is a guy who has a little Kenyon Sadiq. I don't think he's quite as explosive as Sadiq is. Like, if you go watch Sadiq's highlights from high school, crazy, and we're seeing that play out. I don't know that Ploog is that sort of guy, but certainly someone who maybe needs a year to develop, maybe needs a year to get in the weight room, get his body right to actually play tight end. But being new to football, well, he seems to have risen up the ranks pretty quickly. Like, to play for 2 years and then already be a top 24/7 product, that's a really impressive trait. So I like him for sure. I think it makes a lot of sense for Oregon to have at least one tight end in this class. We'll see if they go after two, but this is a guy who down the line, just keep this thought whenever his name pops up, 50-50 balls in the red zone. Same sort of deal as Kyler Casper, where maybe even as a true freshman, Ploog could get in there and be someone you say, hey, you're 6'6", we're just going to throw the ball up to you and see if you can go make a play. But Casper's also, had that role when he's been healthy. Other news on the recruiting trail. DeCorian Moore, number 1 wide receiver in the class of 2025, Oregon commit. That was the biggest name that Oregon recruited over the summer. He's also their highest rated recruit in the 2025 cycle. He visited LSU over the weekend. And I'll also throw in a piece of news that Michigan and Penn State are still after Dorian Finney, who in the 24/7 rankings, but not in the composite, has gotten a bump up to 5-star. That's a defensive back from back east. We'll see what happens there. But DeCorian Moore visited LSU, and I got a couple of messages about that. And I have 2 thoughts. Number 1, I have not heard any major rumblings that the visit went so well that he's considering flipping, or that there are any rumors or anything like that. And it's been, all of 24 hours since that visit took place, but nothing immediate at this time. Number 2, it doesn't hurt that LSU got smacked. Bama went in there with our old pal Kalen DeBoer and ran them out of the building. And recruits can look at that one of 2 ways. Now, the game result, recruiting guys like Brian Smith, our Locked On Recruiting Insider here at the network, will tell you it does not singularly determine whether he's going somewhere, but it can contribute. I mean, and a guy can look at it one of 2 ways. First way is, boy, they're not where they need to be right now. I got to go help them. Or the second way is, I don't know if I want to be here. There was a viral video that went around when UMass was beating Mississippi State of a recruit who was on campus typing out his decommitment tweet. That sort of thing could happen. And the other thing, too, is I know Oregon fans will look into this, understandably so. Take a visit to a big-time program like LSU, yeah, that should absolutely have your attention. If you're a 17, 18-year-old kid, and a university is saying, we'll pay for you to come out here, go to the game, have some meals, hang out, and be treated like a celebrity, I'd probably do that as many times as I could, because that opportunity is not going to last forever. So I think that's absolutely in play, and I know for a fact that plenty of kids do that. They will take visits knowing I have no intention of going here, but this is just going to be fun. I'm just going to get to pay to. I'm going to not pay, or well. No, I don't know about the paying side of things and whatnot, but someone else is going to pay for me to go see Alabama LSU at night at Death Valley. Yeah, I'd probably go. I'd probably go even if I still wanted to stay to Oregon. So I wouldn't have any sort of concern level there. It's something to keep an eye on, but my concern level right now for Decorian more flipping, very, very low. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.